And once again, a reflection in a helmet, and this was a high-definition photograph that NASA placed right onto their website.
And I bet it wasn't in black and white, so why once again do you have a black and white image? You had to do extra work to make it less useful, and it makes it way harder for me to find. Well, no worries, I'll find it anyway. That took way longer than it reasonably should have. Image search didn't work because it's desaturated and zoomed way in. Eventually I did find the right astronaut by just looking at every single female astronaut within the past few years, but then I couldn't find this picture. Any searches I did for Christina Koch on NASA's website didn't find it. I searched through their image archive, that didn't find it. But finally Izet, subscribe to her, she makes great videos, go check her out, which I know a lot of you already have, but still. She eventually found the full image by some witchcraft that I don't fully understand, stored on Wikimedia. And when I image searched that image, I finally found the version on NASA's website. So now we can actually get the context that you left out. Christina is preparing for a spacewalk, sitting facing Nick Hague, and the first thing to notice is they both have similar white reflections in their helmets. It's not just her. Now, figuring out what those reflections are would be really tricky if we didn't have any reference facing the opposite direction. You can obviously find the reverse side in, for example, the same Google Street View that I was using before, but the problem is they seem to store a lot of stuff in the airlock when they're not using it, I guess because they have a real premium on space in the ISS, so in the Street View, the airlock has a bunch of stuff in it that wouldn't be there when they're preparing for an imminent spacewalk. And that makes it really hard to identify exactly what these reflections are of. Also, the Street View imagery is from 2 years before the spacewalk, so things would have changed somewhat in the meantime. Probably not too much, but I think, for example, they replaced a hose. Even so, if you come back to this image later, once you understand the reflections, you'll see a lot of shapes and objects that look very familiar. So here's a YouTube video of the same astronauts returning from the same spacewalk. When they come in, each of them sits on the opposite side from where they were in our picture. Remember that the picture's not from right before the spacewalk, but a prior check that the suits actually fit correctly, so the side they were sitting on doesn't really matter. With this view in our arsenal, it's really easy to figure out what's reflecting where. A whole lot easier than that damn iPad. So let's do his helmet first. Just like with the iPad, because these are reflections and thus backwards from reality, I'll flip the image horizontally to make the comparison easier. This is the edge of the airlock entrance. This curved part is the air hose that's attached to the airlock ceiling. Ceiling based on their current orientation, I mean, for lack of a better word. And I would guess that this big black blob is the astronaut who's actually taken the picture. It's worth keeping in mind that because of the different layers of the space helmet, the reflections kind of double up a little bit. Now let's do her helmet. Here again is the airlock entrance, and here, just like in his helmet, is a curved hose attached to the airlock ceiling, but in this case, we can actually see that this is the hose with the red stripe. We see one of those in the video when they're coming back. The same air hose that's attached to Nick's suit in our image, and which is attached to Christina's suit in the YouTube video. And again, remember that the picture is just from a suit fitting, not right before the spacewalk, so the fact that they're attached to opposite hoses in the picture and the video is irrelevant. I think that black blob again is probably the astronaut taking the picture. And behind the hose, these dark spots are this metal rack type thing that's permanently attached to the wall. The yellow thing towards the top of the hat then would be the yellow Velcro hose tie just above the metal rack. And the hose isn't attached to it, it looks like it's been detached so they can attach it to Nick's suit. Below the rack, making up the squid's nose, I don't know why the squid has a nose, but it does, there's another vaguely yellowish smudge that might be the other Velcro attachment below the rack. So alright, you want to show us a picture of a reflection of hoses and stuff in an airlock. I guess that's kinda neat? Actually, it's not. What's interesting about this?
This veiled, pale-faced image is wearing a head dressing that was worn by Dagon, which was the fish god of the Philistines and the Babylonians.
Is it? It looks like a bored squid to me. But alright, I'll check. What does this Dagon helmet look like? Well, when I search Dagon God, I get two options. This roundy type hat with the hood ornament on it. That's clearly not it. Or he's straight up wearing an entire fish. Not seeing that either, sorry. By the way, later on in production, I found this same image in one of Bling Bling's earlier videos, in color and much less heavily cropped. A bit too late to be useful to me, but at least I found it. So I'm really confused about the decision to make it black and white and super cropped in this video. Let's take a quick detour and check out what she says in that other video.
Hey, it's Bling Bling. How are you? I'm a little bit mad, but I'll get over it.
If you think you're mad now, just wait till this video drops.
Before I'm accused of altering this image, please go to images-assets.nasa.gov and look through their galleries of photos, and this would be in the new section.
Thanks, but that URL returns access denied because you didn't provide me the actual URL for that specific photo, just for the subdomain. But you do provide the right one later at least, so whatever. Anyway, I don't know who's accusing you of altering the image. I'm certainly not going to do that. Except your black and white super cropped version, of course. But you didn't Photoshop in the reflection, if that's what you mean. If you had, I'm sure it would have been a lot less ambiguous and a lot more impressive.
And find this photograph for yourself and look for the reflection and see it on your own, so you don't accuse me of altering it like you did for the spacewalk photo that clearly shows a chair in the reflection on the astronaut's wrist of his mirror.
Let's not even go there. Looking at this video at all already feels like scope creep, and I'm not really into taking on new claims right now.
Because I could not find the original footage, I was accused of putting the chair into the photograph.
Oh, I highly doubt you put anything into the photo, just like all the others. Seems more likely to me that you're just misinterpreting the reflection. But even though I'm not going to investigate that reflection, I wanted to include this statement because this is very revealing. You couldn't find the original footage for the image, which means you haven't even seen this video in motion. And you, at least sometimes, are not the one cherry-picking the frames out of the videos. So it's possible that you didn't even know that the baseball cap man in the green slime was actually shadows in the sloshing slime and not a reflection at all. Maybe you just found that image online, already desaturated, posted by some dishonest flat earther, and you're not lying yourself, but you're just easily fooled and not really all that concerned with the truth. And if so, I'm glad. I mean, it's still not good, but malicious intent is a lot less defensible than mere gullibility.
And just to make things easy, here's the link. Write it down and go look at the photo yourself and see this reflection.
That link goes to the right place. Thanks for giving me the right URL. Really wish I'd had that before I wasted hours finding that image.
And this is very self-explanatory.
Is it? I went through it explaining it with reference to the reverse view, and believe me, that was not self-explanatory. Rarely is a spherized reflection in transparent glass self-explanatory, especially if you have no additional reference to the surrounding environment, especially in the opposite direction for context. And beyond that, it's not even self-explanatory that the reflection looks anything like the fish god Dagon. I don't see that at all, and that's after looking at what his helmet looks like. What an asinine statement.
But what's really weird is that NASA has purposely put that in to the helmet reflection.
Got any evidence for that, or are you just making things up now?
You can see it's not even lined up properly.
And how would it look if it was lined up properly? What does that even mean? How is it supposed to be lined up? Lined up in relation to what?
If you're looking on your computer, you can clearly see the box outlining that image.
I'm looking at it on my computer and I have no idea what you're talking about. I guess it's possible you're talking about the edge of the dark spot that I guessed might be the photographer's arm. But I don't know. Anyone got another guess? Leave it in the comments, Super Sleuth.
I didn't put it there.
I believe you, genuinely. In fact, I don't even think there's anything there for you to have put.
Go to the website right now and look and find the image. I didn't do this.
Yeah, I got it.
They did this.
Did what?
Why are they doing this?
Doing what?
Why would they put a reflection of what looks like someone wearing something like a Ku Klux Klan cap with a scarf over their face?
I thought it was supposed to be Dagon. Now it's a KKK guy? Even you can't decide what this looks like. I still see the board squid, personally. Well, and the airlock, now that I figured that out.
And you can see their eyes.
The hose and the metal rack together kind of look like some sort of big anime eye, but that's not very realistic. Am I supposed to see something that looks like an actual human eye? Because I definitely don't see that.
You can't tell me that you can't see that.
Yeah, but I don't, though. See, this is the problem when you have to use your imagination to interpret faces into things. Not everyone's gonna see the same thing. Is that cloud shaped like a duck or a bunny?
Because it's right there.
The reflection's right there, I'll give you that. Alright, back to the first video. Let's talk about something else.
Thomas has come through for us. This is from the Soyuz launch.
I tried to guess this one, but I got nothing. Not even a joke. That's just a blob.
He's in the rocket, and he's not alone. And I don't mean other astronauts.
Looks like a doorway. More like a blobway.
I know it doesn't look like much right now,
Oh, good. I was starting to worry you were seeing stuff that's not there.
but you'll see in a moment. That is a doorway. It's just turned sideways. And the people are turned sideways. Just bear with me, and you will start to understand what exactly it is that we are looking at.
Maybe, but every time I start to understand what we're looking at, it stops looking like whatever you say it is. Is that intentional?
The Soyuz is a tiny little space.
Yeah, it's pretty cramped.
There's no way that you could fit a camera crew in there.
I agree. That's one of the many reasons they don't stick camera crews in there with the spacefarers.
This is a reflection of the side of a man's head. You can see his dark hair. You can make out his eye, his nose, his chin, his ear.
Ah! I see him! Since we're just sitting here listening to music now, apparently, let me show you the part of the original video where this face is. I'll move it back and forth and stuff so you can see when it's in motion if you can actually see a face. I gotta say, if you think that still looks like a human face when it's moving, I want some of what you're smoking.
This is a man's face. Let that sink in.
I wish I could, but I'm finding it hard to let it sink in that you actually think that looks like a face.
They're supposed to be traveling to the space station on a rocket. And instead, they're sitting in some room where they're being filmed. There is two shapes of people.
Okay, am I being trolled here? I mean, usually when I respond to conspiracy videos like this, I check the comments before I reply, because I want to see if the audience seems to actually believe it, even if the creator is a Poe. And in this case, the comments are, well, I'm not going to read any this time, but let's just say I think people are taking it seriously. But how?
You can make them out.
No, I can't. Nobody can. Those are amorphous blobs of light and shadow. Might as well dump out a bucket of paint on the floor and tell me I see a portrait of my dog.
They're not the best image.
You think?
But you can make them out.
Just stop.
There's no denying that face, side of someone's face, on the Soyuz. And this is the clip. And watch how he pushes the button so forcefully, making sure that mirror moves.
Looked like a pretty normal button press to me, especially considering that's a big physical button probably unchanged in design since the 60s.
Do you know how many thousands of people saw this image?
3?
Did you notice the room out the window? Did you?
Yeah, or at least something room-like. And then, since you mentioned it, and since I want to know what's actually going on, I went and looked for the video. Now, Thomas Pesquet and the other members of Expedition 50 launched on November 17th, 2016. Everything you showed up to the clip of the button press was from that day. You show them climbing up the steps, entering the Soyuz capsule. I assume him entering the Soyuz is from that day anyway. I don't really care. And then you cut to a training session in the Soyuz simulator from a video uploaded a month before the launch. So if this was done with the intention of supporting your conspiracy theory, there's a blatantly deceptive edit here. It shows real footage from the real rocket, but then once he's in the capsule, it very conveniently switches to footage from the simulator, the indoor simulator.
We have simulators in Star City that are perfect replicas of the actual flight vehicles, and the brain of the simulator is exactly the same.
The indoor simulator with a hatch behind the astronauts that doesn't exist in the real Soyuz.
We come in through the living and habitation module, and there's a hatch right up here that we actually come through. So the hatch that you see behind us doesn't really exist. It's great for the mock-up.
Which, of course, is how they're filming these guys training. Of course, you can't fit a camera crew into the real Soyuz because that hatch is not there. But you can get a guy with a camera in there through that hatch, easily. So we come back to the question I asked before. Did you do this, or did you just fall for it? Are you the liar, or are you the liar's fool?
You know, Thomas was once just like us. Apparently, he was a pilot.
Oh, so before he was part of the space station conspiracy, he was part of the jet fuel conspiracy.
So he was involved in a little production. What do you think this is?
A photograph?
Notice how they've taken the soil and made it look red. That's really easy to do in editing, post-production.
Easy enough to do, the hard part's making it look convincing when someone's looking for problems, but yeah, I get the point. And?
Do you know how sophisticated technology is now when it comes to videography and photography?
Yeah, I've got a pretty good idea.
You could make anything look like anything. That's supposed to resemble Mars. Do you think it looks like Mars?
Not really. Way too red. They kind of went overboard with that whole red planet thing. But to your actual point, yes. Someone could make a video on Earth that looks like it was made on Mars, yes.
Do you think if he was wearing a spacesuit, you would believe he was there?
That's hard to say. Maybe. So how does this all tie back to your goofy reflections? Or did you just tack a totally different topic onto the end here?
Or is Thomas trying to tell us something?
I'm pretty sure he is trying to tell you something. Or at least the filmmakers are. But that video's an hour and a half long and in French, so I don't really care enough to find out what they're trying to tell you.
Is this another one? Is this another clue?
Another clue? About what? That space videos can be faked? Was there a first clue? Wait, is that what I was supposed to take from all that stuff about the they putting random-shaped white masks in reflections?
I don't know. I just found it really interesting.
Why? I think everyone's pretty aware that movie magic is a thing. What would even be the point to making a clue for that when it's already obvious to everyone?
You know what a composite is? It's when you take an image and you replace items in the image with other images or computer-generated images. These are composites that I did myself with my pets.
Not bad, I guess. Except you put the rooster outside the depth of field. You see how it's closer to the camera than the out-of-focus flowers at the bottom, but it's in focus itself? Doesn't look right. But anyway, I'm pretty sure I got where you're headed with all this a while back, so is there any chance we could get to the point here?
I didn't go anywhere. I shot all of these photographs on my own property. Using some pretty powerful editing tools, I was able to create these composites. NASA also uses composites.
Yeah, for some things they do. Come on, just say what you want to say already.
And they have so many people fooled to believe that what they are looking at is real. So the lines have already been erased.
Which lines? Between reality and fiction, you mean, or what? Okay, well, I was hoping you would be a little bit more explicit about what you're trying to say, but that'll have to do. So here's my thought. I fully 100% agree that the possibility of faked images and even faked videos made by any number of means, not just compositing, is a real problem in the modern day that you have to be aware of. I agree that you have to keep your wits about you when it comes to believing stuff you see in videos, even from government organizations like NASA. Whether NASA is faking stuff or not is almost beside the point. The real point is that every single day, millions of people are fooled by fake videos created by some rando on YouTube or wherever else. That's why there's endless material out there for channels like Captain Disillusion to examine. And it's going to become an increasingly serious problem as deepfake videos produced by AI of people talking become better and more common. You think you have trouble distinguishing reality from fiction now, just wait. And as for NASA specifically, contrary to what people might assume, I'm not going to call anyone stupid if they're just skeptical of the content they put out. And I definitely don't think you're an idiot if you withhold belief in even something like the ISS if you don't feel you can trust the video evidence, either because you see something in it that raises a red flag for you, or just because you don't feel like you know enough to evaluate it. Just remember there's also a burden of proof for the claim that something is fake, not just that it's real. So if you're not just withholding your belief because you're not convinced by the evidence, but you actively believe it's fake, hopefully you do so for good reasons. And that's the problem. The reasons you've given in this video for why you think the ISS footage is fake are just unfathomably stupid. Every single photo and video from the ISS could be fake, and your reasoning would still be the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Cutting together launch footage with simulator footage and pretending that means something? A cherry-picked frame of slime being shaken around? Looking at the reflection of an airlock in a helmet and saying it's the mask of the fish god Dagon that the Illuminati intentionally put there to taunt you or something? This is so far outside the realm of reason that I still can't tell if you're joking or serious, but unfortunately a lot of people in your comments seem to be taking it seriously, so at least someone does. Which means maybe you do too. And I'm not sure how to process that. But hey, I'm glad you're around. You're a special one. I like you.
We are running out of time.
That's true, better wrap it up. So everyone, thank you very much for watching, and if you like the video, subscribe and give it a like, or even better, and this would be amazing, sign up to my email list at list.logicked.com so I can still get videos to you if anything bad ever happens to my channel. You know how YouTube can be sometimes. I've got about 3,700 people on that email list so far, and they seem to be enjoying it. I recently moved over to a new service that works a lot better and that I have more control over, and I think the sign-up page looks way better too. And if you like the channel even more than that, consider supporting it on Patreon or Subscribestar or any of the other options I have listed at support.logicked.com. Also, I have a Discord. See you next time for something without excessively loud background music.